2012-22, State of Arkansas versus Doyle George.
You know, we have a resolution.
Judge, the state is going to recommend 90 days in jail on contempt. This has actually been filed as a contempt failure to pay. And you get credit, he's been in jail since I think the 18th.
That is correct, Your Honor. That's the agreement.
Mr. George, you understand that what's been filed against you is a petition to hold you in contempt,
Yes, sir.
and you previously entered a plea of not true on that charge. It's set down for hearing today. It's my understanding that by agreement you're willing to change your plea. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you now plead?
Guilty.
You're entering this plea of guilty pursuant to the agreement that's been worked out for you by your attorney, Mr. Cooper. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand the terms of the agreement and essentially the punishment you're to receive?
Yes, sir.
It's been stated here in open court, and you heard Mr. Kincaid state the terms of the agreement. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I did.
Are you entering this plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
No one's forced you into entering this plea?
No.
In entering this plea, you understand that you're giving up certain rights. In the case of a revocation or a contempt proceeding, it isn't a right to a jury trial, but it is a right to a hearing. At that hearing, you would be the state would have the burden of proving that you actually had violated the terms and conditions of the court's order. You would also have at that hearing the right to an attorney and have the assistance of that attorney throughout trial. You have a right to confront the witnesses against you, which normally is done by the attorney cross-examining those witnesses that would testify against you at trial. And you also have a right to appeal. All of those are rights that you're giving up or surrendering by entering this plea of guilty here today. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And understanding what you're giving up, you're still willing to go ahead and enter this plea?
Yes, I am.
In entering this plea, do you acknowledge that you, in fact, have violated the court's order and failed to make the payments required?
Yes, I did.
All right. Based on those statements, the court at this time is accepting your plea of guilty and will finding that it's freely and voluntarily entered after consultation with an attorney. You've acknowledged that you, in fact, are in violation of the court's order, and on that basis, the court at this time will sentence you to serve find you in contempt and sentence you to serve 90 days in the county jail with credit for time already served. That'll be the order of the court. You may be excused.
Yes, sir.
Court will call 2009-239, State of Arkansas versus Janice Denny.
Ms. Denny is a new application that was approved for our office this morning.
This is on a new charge of petition to revoke. On the petition, how does Ms. Denny plead?
You know, I believe she wants to plead true, but I want her to tell that to the court, which she has to anyway.
Judge, we're going to convert this to contempt. She's paid her fines, costs, and restitution. But we can't get her report, and we can't get her fair supervision fees. So she's done everything else, but we just converted to contempt and recommend 60 days for credit for time served.
That's our understanding, Judge.
Ms. Denny, did you hear the state is moving to amend the charge to one of contempt? Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Speak up.
Yes, sir.
And on the charge of contempt of court, how do you now plead?
Guilty.
You're entering this plea of guilty pursuant to you've heard also the proposal of the state as to a disposition of this case. Are you accepting that offer as
Yes.
it's stated here on the record?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In entering your plea of guilty, are you doing so freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Anybody forced you into entering that plea?
No, sir.
Are you doing so understanding that you're giving up certain rights, the right to a hearing, a hearing at which the state would have the burden of proving that you were in violation of the court's order. At that hearing, you would be entitled to representation of attorney and assistance of attorney throughout the process. You'd also be entitled to confront the witnesses that would appear and testify against you, which normally you would do by having your attorney cross-examine those witnesses at the hearing. And finally, you would be entitled to appeal. Do you understand you're giving up those rights?
Yes, sir.
And in entering this plea, do you acknowledge that you are in fact in violation of the court's order?
Yes, sir.
Based on that, the court's going to accept the defendant's plea of guilty, finding that she has freely and voluntarily entered a plea of guilty, and at this time will find her in contempt and sentence her to 60 days in the county jail, subject to receive credit for time already served. Now, Ms. Denny, the way I understand it is that you just aren't willing to report.
Yes, I missed my meeting.
Pardon?
Yes, sir, I missed my probation meeting.
Okay. I just don't want, we did this in December,
sir.
something similar in December, and you got 30 days for that. Now, we're doing it again here at the 1st of May, and you're getting 60 days. This is not a healthy path of we're not making progress in this. And what I'm going to say to you is you need to understand that being placed on probation means if you don't do anything else, you report to probation.
Yes, sir.
Apparently, you've made payments and done other things, but probation is all about reporting to supervision.
Yes, sir.
And the court's not going to be willing to accept another contempt proceeding in the future. If
Sir.
you're not going to do this, then the court, comply with probation, then the court's going to consider its only option at that point is to go back what its original option was, which was to send you to the penitentiary.
Yes, sir.
It makes no sense to put you on probation and then have you not comply with probation. We're wasting the resources of probation, the probation officer's time in doing that. And so if you can't comply with that requirement of probation, the court's not going to be sympathetic a third time.
Yes,
All right?
sir.
We understand each other?
Yes, sir.
All right. The court has sentenced you to 60 days in the county jail, and you may be excused at this point.